Irises have been in bloom over the past several weeks, and the colors anymore are just phenomenal. Now, iris in Greek really stands for rainbow, and if you look, there's just a rainbow of colors here in this wild iris plot on a rural road just outside of Stillwater. And if iris really is one of your favorite flowers, you may want to try to have a little bit of fun with them and customize your own variety or cross two varieties. And what we're going to try to do is cross the yellow flower there with the pretty white one and see what we can come up with. And I want to show you how to do that. To begin with, we need to identify the parts of the flower. And iris plants have both male and female parts, so we want to identify those for you now. To start with, these three petals that curve down are called petal falls, and that's actually where the bee lands to pollinate the flower. And I'm going to break these off just so I can show you the other parts. Then we have the other three petals that kind of protect the flower. And then right here, the whitish color part is the stamen, or the male part. And the pollen, you know it's dry or viable when it's kind of a powdery color, and it's not really yellow, it's more of a whitish color, and you can see that on my finger there. And then this is the female part here, or the stigma. Now, since both male and female are in one flower, we have to identify two separate parent plants. And over here, the white one is going to be our female plant. And let me show you what we'll do to the female. You want to catch the female parent right at the stage it's just beginning to open, or even a little bit sooner than this. And you want to go ahead and break off the petal falls that we talked about to keep the insects from landing. And then you want to go in there and go ahead and open it up as best you can without damaging the stigma, and break off the male parts or the stamen. That way the pollen won't be able to fertilize this particular plant. Then after we've done that, we identify our male plant. And remember, it needs to be one that's a little bit more mature than this one because the pollen has to be ripe. And what we'll do is we'll collect the male pollen and we'll just place it right here on the stigma. Now, once you've done that, you need to close up the flower, and you can just tie it up like this, or in our case, we're going to protect it a little bit more. And this is just some floating row cover. You can use some cheesecloth, something that's small enough to keep the insect out, because we don't want to recontaminate what we've already pollinated. And we'll just tie it very gently so we don't break off the flower. And then as it's pollinated and it grows, where it fertilizes the ovaries, and I'll show you on this one here, as the ovaries grow, it will be in this particular area on the bottom of the flower. It will swell up and the seeds will mature, and as that pod dries and cracks, you would collect the seed, and they're going to be somewhat flat. It depends on the type of iris again. But you want to collect those and put them in a paper bag like this in moist paper towel, and then you put it in the refrigerator for the rest of the winter time. And then in the spring, what you'll do is you'll plant those seeds in a well-drained mix in a little tray and get them to germinate, and then once they get to a certain size, you'll set them outside. Now, a couple of things that I want to give you as reminders. Once you've done this, you need to use some type of tag and label it what your cross was with, like with the yellow iris. So we'll just put that tag on there and we'll mark on here. And another thing that you need to remember, irises come in diploid or tetraploid, and it's hard to tell that. And what we're talking about really is just the number of chromosomes that's in any given cell. And it's best to try to match up diploid with diploid and tetraploid with tetraploid. And it sounds very scientific, but really there's no way to tell unless you know from the varieties given in a textbook. Now, in a wild stand like this, there's no way to know that. So we're just going to go ahead and try it. Now, if the seeds don't germinate, sometimes that's a sign of insufficient fertility. They may not mature for you. So again, it's a lot of fun. It's good to try to experiment. And I bet if you look around in your neighborhood or your particular community, you might even find an iris expert that would be willing to give you a little bit more information. But again, the sky's the limit when it comes to the colors and the types of crosses that you can make.